Welcome to the Salt Lake Fitness Podcast, Salt Lake Pod for short. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy. And this is your space for salty stories, sweaty workouts, and improving crew sanity at sea.
Hi, guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Salt Lake Pod with Salt Lake Fitness. I'm Nat.
And I'm Christy.
And today we're going to be chatting to you with Wellness with Aline. Aline, welcome on today's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me and congratulations on your podcast. This is so exciting. I've seen the buzz on Instagram. I think this is fantastic. But no, doing great. Had a dinner party last night, had 5 hours of sleep, but feeling good and ready to take on the day.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And sorry about the 5 hours of sleep, but as we do as yacht crew, we just buzz through these kind of things.
Exactly.
My question to start off today's episode is, where are you currently in the world?
So I'm in West Palm Beach. We were in the Bahamas, quickly came back for a week to do some dinner parties, and then we're going to shoot over to the Bahamas again. So yeah, it's quite exciting. It's super chilly though in West Palm right now, so it's not your typical Florida weather.
A little cold front coming through. And Christy, where are you sitting at the moment?
Actually in the Netherlands, guys.
What?
So quite far from the both of you, because Nat, I believe you're also in the Bahamas.
I am. I'm in Albany at the moment in the Bahamas.
Nice.
From my cabin on the boat.
Yeah, so both of you ladies are currently coming from on board a vessel. I'm in a shipyard period, so I'm in a little crew apartment at the moment.
That's also nice though.
Yeah, it is. It feels very...
The European winter shipyards.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's kickstart on today's episode. Now that we know where we are in the world and we're all on different boats and different vibes and different areas, I would like to know, Aline, how you got into yachting, number one, and how did you get into a background of nutrition and health?
So my yachting career started 16 years ago. A few years ago, that felt like a flex, but nowadays it kind of feels like old news. But I've loved the industry. I got into it because while I was at high school, I never had the privilege to travel as a young girl. And the initial plan was to go onto the cruise liners as a dancer. And then my dad told me, if you get into university, please just go get your degree. And then after that, you can do whatever you want. So I went to the university, did my degree. And then after that, handed him my degree. And I was on a plane a month later over to France with just a backpack. Couldn't speak the language. And then the moment I landed there, I just started dock walking immediately. Back then as well, it wasn't so frowned upon. I was knocking on every hole, every door, passerelle. And I was quite lucky to get a job quite soon.
Yeah.
But it did turn out to be quite a dodgy situation. So I left very quickly. It was unfortunately one of those situations where it was captains suggesting, you need to up your skills as a masseuse and everything. And so I just very quickly knew that's something to move away from.
Agreed.
Again, just hit the ground, dock walking a lot. And then I got my first permanent position as a soul stew on a 30-meter based out of Cannes. And I just loved it so much. It was incredible. And then how I got into wellness is I've always been very much focused on my health and wellness. During university, did a lot of triathlons. I focused on nutrition. And then it was easy the first 10 years of yachting. As head of housekeeping or as second stew, I found it easy to eat healthy, get my exercise. And, on my 2-hour break, I would exercise. But then when I became a chief stew with a few more responsibilities, that mental fatigue started wearing down and my physical fatigue, because you would wake up thinking of everything you need to do. Didn't feel like eating, skipping breakfast, having simply coffee. And then when lunchtime came around, again, didn't feel like eating, or I was prioritizing my time to rather be doing something contributing to the boat, but not my health. I started feeling extremely tired, severe headaches, really bad bloating. And initially I was like, well, this is yachting. This is what happens. Then I got to a point where I was like, I don't think I can physically go on. I remember sitting on the floor in the main salon after another busy charter, thinking, how am I going to pick myself up from this? And I just realized I needed to change. I tried a lot of things on the boat, tried making smoothies, tried eating healthier, drinking more water. But at that time, it just didn't really work for me because we're just so busy.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, just yesterday, I opened the NutriBullet and it smelled of the whey protein of the decan shake the previous day. So it didn't work. These trying to be healthy just didn't work for me. I went back home to recoup. And that's when I got introduced to a lifestyle that where we use certain tools and habits that we can use as busy women. And it just significantly changed my health on board. I feel incredible. I have so much mental clarity, energy. And that's how I got into the wellness as a stewardess. And now I'm just sharing it with anyone out there who might need that.
I love that. I think that's first of all, I'm sorry that you went through this stage of extreme stress and it sounds like burnout to me, extreme burnout and chronic fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to
Mm-hmm.
that point where you're sitting down and you're going, oof, how am I going to get through the next stage here? And you kind of like have this mental breakdown. Your body physically can't carry on. And I'm sorry that you
Mm-hmm.
got to that point, but in a way, it's actually been a silver lining almost because you've gotten to a
Yes.
stage now where you are 16 years in the industry, which is congratulations, a big feat. It's not a bad thing. It's actually incredible
Very
because
impressive.
to stay in for 16 years, how hard the industry can be. And I really hope that today we can share what these tools and tips that you do or have learned from this really negative way that you had lived on board before through this industry and how you've then come back, taken a bit of time off, which is really important when you're
Mm-hmm.
going through this. And then you've been like,
Yes.
okay, I know what I'm going to do. Bam, bam, bam. This is exactly what's going to help me. And if it's helping you, especially when it comes to women and women's
Mm-hmm.
hormones in our stressful and very busy boat life, I want to know what your tools, tips, and tricks would be for women and men, because men
Mm-hmm.
can follow these kind of things as well. But what would they
Exactly.
be, and how would you start that off for other women who are going through this kind of chronic fatigue, burnout, and the stresses that they deal with in this yachting industry?
I think a big thing is you have to declare that wearing burnout isn't a badge of honor. I think that is something a lot of us run around on the boat and you take on this role where I have to show everyone how tired I am, how hard I work. I'm skipping breaks. I'm not doing meals. Because the moment you slow down, you feel this pressure of like, but then am I really pushing hard enough? Am I doing it all? So I think we need to stop carrying burnout as a badge of honor. We have the right to be happy chief stews or happy stewardesses, no matter what our positions are. There's a big turning point for me was as well. I wasn't a very happy person in the sense I wasn't moody or taking it out on anyone, but I remember vividly a moment where we were out in Kanawa at anchor. The crew were jumping off the sun deck, swimming, laughing, the most beautiful sunset. And I was sitting on the swimming platform because I was just too tired, too busy. And I was like, this isn't the chief stew I want to be.
Mm.
And I just thought, no more. It's like, I need to start filling my own cup so I can give giving. Because I also felt like it was so metaphorical as we're always pouring water for the wine, for the guests, making sure the crew has sodas,
Mm.
but our cups are running empty. So firstly, stepping into that, saying enough is enough. I'm going to start filling my own cup. And then I also just found for the longest time, I was finding struggles with the boat, with the meals, with the unavailability of things on board. Somewhere I had to say it is basically my problem and my problem to solve. And once I solved it, I felt so empowered and I wasn't frustrated anymore. So the two first steps is really just mentally, I would say.
That what you said just now really resonated with me. I've had certain crew cultures on vessels that I've worked on where you do start to feel guilty when you're taking those small moments of enjoyment. or you're seen maybe at 8 p.m. in your civvies in the crew mess when another head of department is maybe still working, and you're thinking, oh, should I be here? Should I not be at my computer? Should I not be doing this? And when I stepped into a senior management role, I wanted to be that person, just like it sounds like you are as a chief stew, leading by example and showing that, taking your health and your fitness and your mental capacity as a priority, you're going to be able to provide and show up as your best self for the rest of your team. You're going to lead by example.
Exactly.
And the positive feedback that I had from deliberately trying to be that person was incredible. And I really do think more head of departments, captains, leaders within the industry should take that mindset. So it's really nice to hear someone else doing that. And I'm sure that the team that are underneath you really appreciate it.
Thank you. And it's not easy because it's almost like an identity change you have to make and to accept. But I've become a much better chief stew because like I said, it was not like I was ever impatient or anything, but crew can sense when you're unhappy or unhealthy or just don't want to be there anymore. But when you come in with a positive energy because you feel good, you do good. And now still to sometimes declare, just the other day we set up birthday decorations for a crew member, and I was like, well, we'll start at this time because I'm going to work out first. And during my workout, I kept wanting to cut it short so I can get to the decorations. But I was like, Aline, you need to fill your cup before you can go out there and give it all.
Yeah. What a wonderful place to get to mentally.
That's really
Thanks,
important.
yes. And I wish it for so many other stews out there as well.
Definitely.
I think that's really important, just having that filling your own cup analogy, because I actually posted something about this yesterday, and it's instead of focusing on people don't focus on themselves, they focus on the opinions that people have on them, and they try and they think that I'm not working hard enough, or they think that I don't go up to the office and I sit there and do my admin, or they think that I take too many breaks, or they think they see me eating. It's instead of that, it's all right. I'm sitting here because I need 10 minutes to myself because I've been at the office doing the work that I know that I can do. You can also you need to be
That's
able to,
okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. And you need to be able to focus on yourself with the analogy of filling your own cup first. Like you said, you did your workout. It's like making that time for movement for yourself is so important in yachting, because yachting is a very, very difficult industry to be in, especially when you have these very high ambitions and high standards for yourself that you can see that you hold yourself up to. And I know that a lot of other people do. When you have these high standards and you aren't giving yourself that 30, 40, 50 minutes a day where you're going for your run, doing your yoga workout, meditating, whatever you do that escapes you from the boat and the people, because you don't have your own time. You don't have your own space. You don't have your own mental space or anything for yourself. So doing that movement for yourself and taking the time that you need for yourself, it is vital. Like I can't stress it enough to people just to take that time out.
Definitely.
I see such a change in my crew when they start exercising. And something I've learned as well with my journey is when you start this health journey, it is quite lonely in the beginning, but you're never alone because there are communities and women like us out there to support you. But you can't wait around for someone else on the boat to initiate it or carry you through it, because that also goes through phases. I've seen it before. So you have to almost take that initial step to find that something for yourself on an outside online community that you can stay connected through no matter what's happening on the boat, who's coming, who's going. And I think that's really important. And then I've seen it with crew, I just do my thing. And I see someone, they start exercising more, or someone starts making a yogurt instead of a croissant for tea break. And then the energy, there's just this connection with the crew because everyone has that little bit of empowerment and feel good endorphins. And I think it's so great.
It is great. And when you see those small shifts, and obviously because
Mhm.
of who you are, you know, your education around nutrition, you notice these things. And
Mhm.
see these shifts, you know, that's when we have to cheer those people on and be like, oh, you know, that looks really good. Or it inspires other crew members that have maybe thought about it, you want to dabble in that world, but don't know where to start. So in saying that, I know that our listeners would love to know your practical tools, what they can do on board when they're maybe struggling a little bit with their health, or they maybe don't have the chefs providing what they need for them.
Mhm.
So, do you have any crew mess tips for those crew members out there that might be finding it a little bit difficult to be healthier on board?
So my first tip is always have breakfast. Start your day off feeling fueled. Then the next step is I always encourage try to get protein in every 2 to 3 hours. And I'm not saying everything has to be about protein, but the reality is, as busy women, we really do not get enough protein in to stabilize our blood sugar. And if your blood sugar isn't stabilized, that's when you experience dips, your energy falls, you have cravings, you fatigue, you struggle to think, you're moody. So just changing your approach to getting in protein every 2 to 3 hours, whether it is some hummus or nuts, a protein bar, a yogurt. And that's another practical tip. Again, take it in your hands. The night before, make some overnight oats with chia seeds for yourself. Prep your yogurt bowl. If there isn't yogurt on board and you have the opportunity for, say, to go to the store, Uber Eats, get some for yourself. Put that blue tape on there. Say, this is my yogurt.
Touch it.
Don't touch it. um, so that is the other thing is just try to eat every 2 to 3 hours. I know how difficult it is. I've been around the block 16 years, big charter boats, 43-day charters,
Oh my
hide
gosh.
the snacks somewhere.
Yeah.
And then also that's the thing, and empower yourself and saying, I'm quickly gonna eat this.
Mm.
I'm not gonna skip this. Another one is get a water bottle that works for you. Mine is nothing bougie, nothing pretty. Cheers.
Well,
Cheers.
So obnoxious. I tried to have a very like subtle sip of water before and I was like,
Oh no. Try to have protein every few hours, whether it's, like I said, it can be peanut butter, nuts, hummus, chia seeds, just to keep that blood sugar stable. Prep as much as you can the night before and find movement you enjoy. And that's where I can help is give you a simple, quick breakfast, protein snacks, drinking water, and movement.
perfect.
It's so important, and those are really the 4 things that even I follow. And, I just had a crew mess now because it's 12:30 here before I logged on, and I had lunch, and everyone was having lunch, and one of the crew members asked me, "Nat, what do I do to, get bigger and stronger? What
Mm.
do I have to do?" And I had made this really big protein shake as my morning breakfast, like,
Mhm.
it's huge. It's like this big NutriBullet, and I fill it with ice. I have almond milk, and it's got protein in it. And it's literally
Mhm.
30 grams of protein in this big thing. And he was like, "That looks like I need to start doing that. Like, what do I do?" And I was like, just honestly, the only advice I can give you is protein. And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, protein. If you have 1.5 grams to 2.2 grams of protein per body, like pound of body weight, you are sorted. And if you want to grow, increase your protein.
Mhm.
All you have to do, you've got to
Exactly.
fuel your body. And I think so many, this is going to be a bit of a touchy subject. So if you are
Mhm.
triggered by eating disorders, or if you're triggered by things to do around eating and your body image, I would say you probably don't want to listen to this part. But when it comes to a
Mhm.
lot of women, I feel, and men have this issue, but I hear it a lot from women. The view on your body is to be the smallest you can be. And that's
Mm.
what societal standards do, right? I'm lucky enough that I've seen the stronger side of the fitness industry where it's about being your stronger self. So I'm very lucky that I've gone down this road. But a lot of women that I've seen and met through the yachting industry, because of the standards of being a stewardess, I'm not in the interior, which I'm very, for my mental clarity, quite happy and lucky with. But a lot of stewardesses, they have this societal pressure, I think, from not just the team or the managers or from the crew, but also from the owners and the people that that they look after, to look a certain way, which it can be quite stressful, I think, on women. And that's why people don't tend to want to eat. They try to eat little. You kind of ruin and have this distortion in your hormones as a woman. And like you said, the first thing you need to do is fuel yourself with a proper breakfast. Food in the morning, if you're not waking up hungry as a woman, there's something imbalanced in your hormones, which is so negative for the rest of your day. It disrupts your sleep, it disrupts your blood sugar levels, which then can turn to bloating, can turn to constipation, it can turn to mental fatigue. It's so vital. I think the first tip you gave of having a healthy protein-filled breakfast, prepared the night before, very, very important, because you know that you've got things done. I can go grab my little Ziploc bag with my oats. I know I have 40 grams of oats in there. I've got my scoop of protein. All I have to do is fill some water in it. Perfect. I'm sorted.
Exactly.
One of those bags, you're done for a week, you know? And
I
you know,
literally had that this morning, my little Ziploc bag with protein oats. You're like speaking to me.
same thing. When I'm on charter, and like I'm on a very busy charter boat, we have chartered, we literally have 7-day charters. We have 1 day in between to prep, and it's like turn around. The mid season is absolutely flying. It's crazy. And you say, so we do these preps in before the charter, have all my bags ready to go, fuel your breakfast, cool. Water, hydration is so important. Electrolytes in your water is not just going to make you feel like you actually are hydrated. It's going to help you with the minerals and the supplements you need in your body. You're sweating out.
Especially from
We're sweating out.
and boat water.
Yeah.
We never know what we get with boat water.
No, exactly. And this is things that we don't take into consideration. So your hydration, you're filling your breakfast, protein every 2 to 3 hours as women is super important to eat every 2 to 3 hours. Otherwise your blood sugar drops, like you said, and then you're going to be moody, you're going to be grumpy, you're not going to be your best self for your job aspect.
Exactly.
And having, like you said, you have your little snacks with you. I literally travel to the boat. I travel 2 bags. I shit you not, my 1 bag is full of my coffee, my ground coffee. That's my little treat. I love
Oh, yes.
protein
Me too.
bars
Coffee.
and my protein powder. I don't go any without that.
Consistency is also a big key for success and results, and to find something that supports that for you.
Definitely. Consistency is everything. And I think this whole topic of conversation as well is you're obviously a chief stew that's providing everything you can for the crew. There's a lot of chief stews out there that there is the pressure from some crew members, that they want all of the unhealthy processed snacks, but there are things that you can provision as a chief stew or an interior manager or a head of service, when you're controlling those crew consumables that your vessel is providing for your crew. It's the healthy options. Give the crew, yogurts, give them protein bars, give them nuts, rather than just steering towards the Mars bars or whatever.
Exactly.
I've been on vessels that provide, supplements, electrolytes, protein for the crew, and I understand that not every vessel's budget can support that. But be that leader that, tries to push for the crew and try to get those healthy things on board, because it's not impossible and it can be an absolute game changer for your vessel's and crew's performance, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Because my husband, and who's the captain as well, there's certain things that we don't provide because we know it's so bad for the energy. Vice versa, we provide any healthy things they ask for. So whether it's drinking yogurts, Greek yogurts, I always make an effort to find out what they like. But there's also just certain things that we know will get overconsumed, and that will affect their performance. Their performance will go into a mood. It's a bad morale. But then I always encourage anyone, whether you're going for something healthy or something unhealthy, if the boat doesn't provide it, just get it for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Order it, have it on board,
Exactly.
Definitely.
But I agree. It's I've seen such a change in our crew by simply providing the healthy options. Because when I make overnight oats, I would make a big container and be like, guys, if you want to take it, you don't have to take it because Chief Stew's taking it. If you want to have some, knock yourself out. And yeah, it's just, you start seeing the change. And it's always nice when you start seeing crew get fitter and healthier and more confident. And not to mention the performance out on deck as well. I've seen crew lose significant weight, and then all of a sudden, the energy, the strength they have is incredible. They can jump up without, supporting themselves. And I also tell my girls, when they skip tea break, I said, remember the tea break is there for you to fuel yourself. Or when I start noticing they're dieting and not eating enough, I said, I can respect if you're not feeling comfortable in yourself, but I need you to perform. If you can't perform because you haven't been fueling yourself,
Yeah.
it's a problem. And it's like, and I agree with you, Nat. It's so amazing to be strong and healthy. I look back when I was at my lowest. I was so skinny, and you think, oh, but it's great to be skinny. But I couldn't. I when I got down to make beds, I had to take a minute to just be like, get up.
Yeah.
It's and you mentally get tired, and I think that's way worse than physical tired as well.
I agree. When you're mentally tired, you can be physically tired and physically burnt out, but when you're mentally burnt out, that is probably one of the most dangerous things to have in your industry and career and your personal life, because not only can you not perform in your career, you're not having any performing functions in your social life because you can't socialize, so you're exhausted. And when it comes to doing your own thing, you just don't have the energy in terms of the mental capacity to deal with just going out the front door and saying hello to a stranger nicely. And do you know what I really love what you were saying was how telling your girls to fuel themselves. And I love that way of describing it, fueling yourself, because I feel like a lot of us, this is also a trigger warning, a lot of us will eat because we've earned it. And that's something that I hear a lot of people saying, not just women, but men as well. I don't think men, the guys that I've spoken to, have the same idea behind it, because I don't really think this far down deep. But they could. That's just me stereotypically generalizing. I don't know. But they normally say, oh, I've run today, so I can have chocolate bars. And I'm like, no, you can have 3 chocolate bars because you're allowed to have them. You're allowed to have them. And I love that aspect. I think I hate the word diet. I don't think dieting should be a word. I think more about I'm going to change the way my lifestyle is and how I'm going to fuel my body, because fuel is important to be able to function properly. And I really respect that your outcome and the way that you mentally describe this to your team. I think it must be an absolute privilege to work with you in terms of how your team must feel like I am mentally supported here.
I think we will go into the question that we wanted to ask Aline is, if you could go back to your first year in yachting, you're a green stewardess, you're brand new. If you could give yourself one piece of advice, 16 years in now, so you've learnt a lot in this time, I'm sure. If you could give young, green, brand new to yachting Aline one piece of advice, what do you think that would be?
This is such a good question, and it took so much reflection, because I get a lot of young girls reaching out to me, especially green stews, asking for advice. I look back on my first year, and I'm grateful for how my first year went. I went all in. And when it comes to yachting wise, I would go back and say to her, well done. You do you, girl. Stuck to your gut feeling. Like I said, the first job I got offered was a peculiar situation, which is obviously also something that's starting to get more exposed in the industry. I would say well done for getting away as soon as possible. I wasn't paid. I was crying myself asleep. I was mortified in the crew maze. Like, I didn't have money. I was like, how am I going to survive? But I stayed determined. I did the work. So when it comes to yachting wise, it's like just do the work. Go onto Yacht Spot, apply, go to every WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
If something bad comes your way, don't let it deter you. Trust your gut, get out, and move on to the next opportunity. As cliche as it sounds, it's like enjoy it and give it your all and live in the moment. And it's going to turn out better than you think. So
Yeah.
that's what I would just say to myself if I go back. It's like, do what you're told to do because it does work out well for you.
It
Mhm.
sounds like you have quite a lot to be proud of, which must be such an incredible feeling, especially, being that first year in yachting, knowing that you gave it your all. You didn't walk away thinking, "Ah, I could have done more, or I could have experienced more or tried harder." You really know that you put your best foot forward. And I think you're also the perfect example of the crew member within yachting that takes care of their health and their fitness, and showing that you can prolong this industry, you can stay in this industry for much longer than what we would typically think, our
Yes.
expiry date. Because you put your health at the forefront, and you're
Exactly.
the perfect example of that. And if I'm not mistaken, you are a qualified nutritionist yourself. So if our followers or listeners want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So they're more than welcome to reach out on Instagram. My Instagram name to Wellness and Wealth with Aline.
I'm sure we'll have a lot of people very interested in reaching out, and we absolutely love following your page and all of your content. So please keep it up.
I think the last question that we should ask to wrap on, we ask all of our guests that come on to the podcast, is if you had one mentor out of your 16 years of yachting, who do you choose and why?
That's a really good question. I've worked for some really good captains that set incredible standards for me. But I do think a mentor was one of my chief stews as well on the bigger vessels I worked. She just had a significant impact, and I always think about her so much.
What was her name?
Sienna.
Oceana. Okay, lovely.
Yes.
Shout out
Okay.
to Sienna.
Yeah. Thank you for your mentor. And I think we've had a really, really interesting chat on this episode. So I really hope that the listeners enjoy this and they find some useful things that they can take away from here. Thank you for today. And it was an absolute pleasure chatting with you.
That's a wrap on today's episode.
Stay salty, stay strong, and keep moving with purpose. See you next time.